Aloha, my name is Arielle Leon, and I'm going to guide you through a 45-minute vinyasa practice. We'll work towards the posture Ardha Chandrasana, also known as half moon. But the intention of our practice is to cultivate more faith, hope, and optimism. So maybe there's a place in your life where you could use a little bit more positive thinking. Call it into mind. And as we move through our practice today, practice those positive thoughts, whether it's to help you balance, to help you find strength, and see if you can take that with you into those challenging areas of your life. We are going to start lying on the back in Supta Bharakanasana, feet together, knees wide. And if you want to practice with music today, there's a link in the comments below. Go ahead and open it up, and we'll hit play together in 3, 2, 1, play. Great. Now make your way onto your back. If you have blocks at home, you could take your blocks underneath your thighs, resting one palm on the belly and one palm on the heart, if that feels all right. And then when you're ready, close your eyes. Invite a nice long breath in through your nose. And a soothing breath out of your mouth. Good, do that 2 more times. Inhale a little more than you did before. Exhale completely. Now on this last one, breathe in the deepest breath you've had all day long. Fill up, and even when it feels like you can't possibly fit any more oxygen, just take one last little sip, hold it for a heartbeat, and let it go. And then just let the breath flow naturally. Feel the muscles of your inner thighs releasing as your knees sink deeper towards the earth. Heavy in your hips and your heart, but soft in your jaw and that point between your brows. So maybe there's an area in your life where you're feeling challenged. I invite you to call it into mind and just kind of hold it with you, cradle it through your practice. What's the best that could happen when you let go, when you surrender to the flow of life? What's the best that could happen when you're no longer white knuckle grasping at things needing to be a certain way, and instead living from a place of faith, of optimism, of hope? Now just breathe a little deeper with a slight constriction in the back of your throat. This is your Ujjayi breath, your victorious breath. Sounds like the ocean coursing through you. Remember that everything is always easier if you can breathe through it. The more oxygen your body receives, the more vitality, and the more oxygen your brain receives. You become more sharp, more awake. So fuel your vessel here. Just 3 more deep Ujjayi breaths. Inhale. Exhale. Find that rhythm. Breathing in. Breathing out. One more steady breath in. Smooth exhale. Now, just like you did this morning, take a long stretch. Reach your toes down below, your arms up above. Just reach an extra inch through your fingertips. A new beginning, starting again. Take a deep breath. And then slowly hug your knees in toward your chest. Feel free to rock side to side and just massage your back into the mat. Okay, and then slip your palms just behind your knees, behind your thighs. So you can gently pump your legs and rock yourself up into boat pose. You can take a few rocks, but have a little faith and see if you can hover right there in that space. Nice. We'll just be here for 5 breaths. Go ahead and release your arms if that feels okay. And as you lift your chin, feel that line along your spine. Hug your shoulder blades together on your back. See if that helps you lift your heart a little more. Look at your toes pushing into one another. The inner thighs are now active after that long stretch. 2 more. Good breaths here. 1 more. What's the best that could happen? Good. At the end of your exhale, crisscross your shins. You can roll over and come onto your hands and knees. I'll meet you in a tabletop. We'll take the wrists beneath the shoulders, the knees beneath the hips. Go and tuck the toes under for a little more support. And on your next breath in, arch your back by looking forward, sway your big, generous heart towards the mat. And then round through your spine, push the floor down and forward with your hands as you hug your chin towards your chest. Do that 2 more times. Breathe in as you lift through your tailbone and broaden through your sitting bones. And then breathe out as you curl that cat tail between your legs. 1 more, really exaggerate this last one. Find that valley in your spine. And then the peak as you press and round. Very nice. Now keeping the right toes tucked under, just stretch back through your right leg. Push back through your heels so you can get a stretch in your calf and your hamstring. And you're going to turn on that right quadricep like you're squeezing your knee super strong and straight. Good. Then we can release the left hand to the sky for a twist. Awesome. If you want to add some wrist circles with that left hand, go for it. But notice that right index finger knuckle pushing into the ground to protect your wrist. Cool. Now take 1 more breath in. Then we're going to pulse that left arm underneath the right arm as if you were coming in to thread the needle, but you're not going to touch the floor, not yet. And then unwind. Take that left arm back up to the sky. Reach, reach, reach. Do that again. Exhale, weave left arm under right, reaching through just an inch more. And then inhale as you unwind that left arm high. This time, wrap left arm under right and then rest. The left side of your head down on the floor, your shoulder. Now that back leg is strong and straight. You're still turning on that quadricep. If you want to stretch your right arm out long in opposition, you might find some extra length in the side of your waist. Yeah. Now, asking yourself, what's the best that can happen? Have a little faith. And challenge yourself, if you wish, hover the right foot off the floor. Keep the internal rotation of that right leg, and then turn on that quadricep even more. You might lose your balance, you might somersault, but that's a good test. If you can internally rotate that right thigh towards the sky a little more, you'll find your balance with those squared hips. Good, take 1 more breath. If your right toes are hovering, tuck them back down onto the ground. And then unwalk your hands so they return to a tabletop shape. Breathe in to get there. Good. And then exhale as you hover that heel in line with your hip. Right heel in line with hip. Hug the low ribs in. Gazing at the top edge of your mat. Breathe in. And then exhale as you bend the right knee in towards your nose. Contract. Inhale, kick it back through your right toes. Exhale, curl knee to nose. Inhale, lengthen. Feel your back body strengthen. Exhale, knee to the nose, contract the abdomen. 1 more time, kick your foot backwards. And this time we'll step forward with that right foot between the thumbs. Take your time to stack the knee over the ankle and then walk your hands up onto that right knee. Awesome. Relax your shoulders back and down, that same gathering of the shoulder blades behind you. And then notice if your pelvis is kind of tilting forward. See if you can shift your hips back, lengthen your tailbone, and think about lifting the front of your waistband up towards your ribs. When you feel steady in the legs, feel that inner thigh activation hugging to the midline, then go ahead and lift your arms up to the sky. And make your arms like a V, like you just finished the race in first place. Victory. Lift your heart, spread through your fingertips, lift your chin, and steady the breath. I'm a big fan of power poses. I try to do it every day. Take another full breath, a full expression. And then exhale, release your hands down. You could put them on the ground, or if you have blocks, go ahead and grab them. We're gonna walk the hips back and lengthen the front leg for half splits. You have your left knee underneath your left hip. Your right leg is more or less straight. It's okay if there's a little bend in it, but see if you can turn on that right quadricep again. It'll look like your right kneecap is sliding up your thigh. And then with that quad engaged, you're gonna add a slight bend in the knee, like you wanna dig the floor down and back. Meanwhile, press forward with the ball mound of your foot. Take a deep breath. Exhale, think about your heart reaching for your shin. 2 more breaths here, lengthen. Deepen. 1 more good breath. Nice. Now with a little space, lengthen your arms. We're just gonna pivot the right toes open 90 degrees or so. It's an external rotation of that right thigh bone in the hip socket. And then you might notice the sensation shifts to the outer thigh, this tingling in the IT band area. It's great. Think about rooting your right foot through the floor and pulling that right hip crease back. So the pelvis is turning slightly. If you want a little more intensity, first take a breath and then take your left cheek towards your right shin. So you're kind of on a diagonal here. Bring your awareness to where you feel the stretch. Bring your breath there. 2 more, IT band. That. Now I see some of you are using blocks at home, which is great. You can keep that block underneath your left hand. And then we're just gonna move that right block away as you slide the right foot towards the back edge of your mat, coming into a modified side plank. So you have that left knee on the floor, that left hand is on the floor, that right hand can come to your hip. Feel your shoulder blades gather on your back, and then turn your eyes upwards towards the sky. Steady the breath, steady the gaze, and then maybe that right arm flies high. If you're feeling balanced, hover your right heel off the floor so it's lined up with your hip. Now you're gonna imagine that pinky toe edge of your floating foot is parallel to the ceiling. So there's a slight internal rotation. There, grip the muscles of that right leg, the quad, the glute, let it help hold it up. 1 more breath. Good, I'll meet you in a tabletop. Go ahead and return hands and knees. Awesome. We'll work on the other side now. So with the left toes tucked under, press back through your left heel. And you know, you can have, actually, never mind, I'll see that later. You can press back through your left heel, stretch it there. And then we'll set up the twist. This time the right arm lifts. You can give that right wrist some attention. Awesome, take a deep breath in. And then we'll hover the right arm under the left. Don't touch the floor, but get really close. Inhales, you unwind the right arm to the sky. Exhale, weave it through a little more than before. 1 more time, twist your heart open to the right. And then exhale, weave right arm under left, like you're listening to the earth, let your head land. And that left hand can travel forward if that feels good on your shoulder. Bring your attention to that straight leg behind you. Feel the quadricep engage, the kneecap lifts. And if you tested your balance on the other side, what's the best that could happen? Have hope as you hover your heel off the floor. Yeah, nice. You got to really push into the back of that right arm, the back of the right shoulder. It's really just a test to see if you can maintain that internal rotation of your lifted leg. Awesome. Now if your toes are floating, take them back to the mat. And then we'll unwrap the hands, return to your tabletop. Find that lift in your chest. Inhale. Nice. Hugging the low ribs in. We'll now lift the heel in line with the hip. Gazing forward. Inhale. Curl in. Exhale. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale. Curling in. Again, inhale, lengthen. Strengthen the hamstring, the glute, the back body. Exhale, strengthen the abdomen. We got one more kick here. Breathe in. And then exhale as you draw your knee towards your nose and then step it forward between the thumbs. Awesome. When you got that ankle underneath the knee, go ahead and prop your palms up onto that thigh. Let the shoulders drape down your back. And then that lengthening of the tailbone, it creates a little more tone in the core, but also a deeper stretch in that right hip. Now hug the inner thighs towards the midline, find that steadiness. And then victory, arms reach. Sitting long through your arms as if they're expressed from your heart. Like a sunflower turning towards the sun. Lifting your gaze. 2 more breaths into your right hip. Good, breathe in. Exhale, release your hands down. Walk your hands back, straighten out that front leg, your left leg. Using your blocks if you like, or half splits. Ardha Hanumanasana. Now with the hips stacked over the right knee, do that thing where you watch that left kneecap slide up your thigh, the quad is on, but then we add a micro bend, which turns on the hamstring too. Now I'll take a good breath in here. And then exhale as you fold a little deeper. Nice long breath in. Smooth breath out. One more round. And then just let your chest hover with your arms extended, and we'll externally rotate that left thigh. So like the knee and the toes want to turn towards the left at 9 o'clock. Your foot doesn't have to touch, the peaking toe doesn't have to touch the floor, but if it does, think about gripping the ground and pulling it back. If your knee is bothering you here, add that little bend again. And with that left hip hugging back, you can take your right cheek closer towards your left shin. Breathe into that IT band area, the outer left hip, the outer left thigh. Some of you might feel this stretch more in the back of the knee, the hamstring. Trust that you're feeling it where you need it the most. One more breath. Awesome. Find that length in your arms again. Keeping the right palm down, begin to lengthen your left foot towards the back of your mat for the modified side plank. The right hand can be slightly forward of the right shoulder, knee under hip-ish. Tucking the right toes under can help you balance. And then we can have that left hand on the hip for now as you turn the eyes up towards the sky. Fix your gaze on something and then lift your left arm up. Let it float into your eye sight. Test your balance, your breath, and hover that left heel off the floor if you're breathing okay. Remember, we want that internal rotation of the left leg. You're going to do the same thing when we find half moon later. Like the pinky toe edge of your foot is parallel to the sky. That just broadens the back body, creating more ease and balance. Take another full breath here. Good. At the end of your exhale, come back to your tabletop. Ditch your blocks, and we'll crawl the paws forward for extended puppy pose. Now, to give the wrists a little bit of relief, I invite you to have your fingertips on the earth, but your palm arches lift. And then you have your forehead on the floor perhaps, or maybe it's hovering. You can also use your block beneath your forehead if that's the case. Your knees are stacked beneath your hips. With the thigh bones parallel. Think about gripping an imaginary block between your thighs. Nice steady base. So you can stretch your shoulders. Another breath. And very nice. Now pressing into your finger pads, just start to look forward. You can let your hands and forearms land as you slither into Sphinx pose. So you're going to shift forward and bring your pelvis to the floor. And then you're going to want to scoot your elbows forward a little bit so they're stacked beneath your biceps, beneath your shoulder heads. And then spreading your fingers wide like you're palming a basketball. Grip into the mat, loop your shoulders back. In your mind's eye, feel the tops of your feet pushing into the ground behind you, spreading out all 10 of your toenails, pushing the feet through the floor so much that the quads begin to activate. And then as you lengthen your tailbone, just like when you do cat pose, the front of the waistband starts to hover. Then maybe the elbows start to hover as well, coming into seal. Keep that length in your tail, that lift in the front of the waistband. Use the abdomen for 3, 2, 1. Go ahead, slowly soften your forehead to the mat and then slide your hands by the rib cage. Keep those elbows hugged in. We'll set up for baby cobra or upward dog. We'll start with the baby cobra. Start with that breath in as you lift your head and your heart. You can choose to stay there, or you're going to push into your hands to lift your rib cage off the floor and your hips. Hips are hovering, quads are on, supporting the legs from the front side. Push the floor down, pull the floor back, open your heart, your throat, your eyes. One more breath. Good. Take it to downward facing dog. You could bend your knees and tuck your toes or roll over the tops of your feet. Enjoy a few breaths here. If it feels good to pedal the heels or sway the tail, just do what feels good for you. But notice if your legs look parallel. Does it look like your heels are descending straight down from your hips? How wide can you spread your toes? Relax your head, you can shake it. Yes, no. But ultimately, the ears are hovering right between the arms. You can feel that thumb and index finger, the L shape of your palms pushing the floor down and away. Nice deep breath. Exhale. Awesome. Now take a walk up to the top of your mat. We'll meet with the feet hips width apart. Once you're there, halfway lift. Hands slide up the shins. Your spine is parallel to the floor. Shoulder blades gather behind you. Breathe in. And then catch opposite elbows. Soften your knees and fold back down. Feel that same width of the toes. And challenge yourself to lean forward with your hips. What's the best that could happen? And get a deeper stretch through your hamstrings. Notice if you're holding any tension in the back of your neck, can you let that go? Good. Exhale. Relax your arms, bend your knees, round and rise all the way up through the spine. Just let your arms dangle down by your sides. Loop your shoulders back once you get to the top and spin your palms so they face forward. If you feel comfortable closing your eyes, try to find your balance from the inside out. Notice if you're leaning more forward or back, more into one foot than the other. Generally, we lean forward in life, urging into the next thing. See if you can find a little ease. Lean back with the hips, the heart, the head. This is Tadasana, Samastitihi, mountain pose. Stand like a mountain, the broad base, steady. Yeah. Exhale. Let's open up your eyes and meet me in chair pose. So we'll bend the knees and send the hands forward. They can reach in front of the shoulders or up by the ears. With the intention of strengthening the legs here, think about moving your hips back so the toes get lighter, but then you bend your knees deeper so the toes are all on the floor. And there's a slight lengthening of the tailbone here so the abdomen can turn on again. And maybe the hands or the eyes look up towards the hands. Good. Take 2 more breaths. Maybe sit a little deeper. One more, inhale. Good, exhale to fold. Elongate your spine halfway up, breathe in. Exhale to find plank pose. With your hands on the mat, step your feet back. Now the feet are hips width apart. Pause here, turn on those quadriceps. We're gonna find side plank with both heels dropping towards the right. Keep the right hand on the mat and the left hand on the left hip. Now you can choose to do the variation we did before with the knee on the mat, or keep the feet as they are, let the left arm float, and maybe the left foot floats. For 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's find the other side. Left hand on the ground. We'll swivel the heels up and over towards the left edge of the mat. Right hand to the right hip or right arm lifts. Feel steady. And then choose if you want to hover that right heel. Feel that same internal rotation, the pinky toe edge of the foot parallel to the sky. It feels like you're pigeon-toed a little bit. 2 more breaths. Last one. Good. Come to that high plank pose. Breathe in. You've got this. Chaturanga is a choice. You can use your knees as you bend your elbows about 90 degrees. Inhale as you move through your cobra pose or upward dog. And we'll make our way back into downward facing dog. Know that you can always skip the push up. You can always skip the back bend and just come straight into this shape. Settle in, take a good breath. Nice. Now take a big stretch of that right leg to the sky. Inhale, right leg high. Exhale, big step forward with that right foot between the thumbs. Strong inner thighs. Take your hands to your hips and then rise, high lunge. With the hands on the hips, you can notice if you have one hip higher than the other. And as you press up through that left heel, drive that left hip bone forward. See if that right hip can come back. Then we'll deepen the bend in that right knee. Take a breath here. And then exhale as you bend the left knee so it almost touches the ground, but it doesn't. Get close. Good. Inhale, stretch your left leg straight again. Hover the hips. Exhale, hover the left knee. Inhale, get a little higher. Turn on that left glute. Exhale, get a little lower. One more time. Inhale, lift. Exhale, hover. Stay there. That strong inner thigh action. Arms up, victory. For 3, 2, 1. Good. Meet me in warrior 2. Spin your left heel to the ground. Fan your arms out. Imagine the feet can pull the floor together underneath you. And that energy is lifting all the way up through your pelvis, through your crown. The shoulder blades gather on the back. And then a little micro bend in your elbows, kind of feels like you're flaring your wings out, will help the triceps get involved. Now, as you look beyond the right fingertips, deep in the bend in your right knee. But imagine I was gently pulling your left hand, your left arm back so your ribs stack. Awesome. Stay steady in your legs. Lift the right arm up overhead, reverse the warrior. In your mind's eye, continue to ground into that right big toe, deep in the right knee. One more breath in. Good. Use your breath out to cartwheel your hands all the way to the ground. Inhale, step your right foot back to high plank. Exhale, if you want to move through your tricep push-up, now's the time. Otherwise, go straight into your downward dog. Inhale if you're coming through up dog. Exhale, take it home. Downward dog for a breath. Let it go. Other side. Lift your left leg nice and high, breathing in. Exhale, big step forward, that left heel between the hands. Hands to the hips. Rise. Shoulders loop back. Drive that right hip forward. Deep in the bend in the left knee. Take a breath. Take a pulse. Exhale, right knee hovers. Inhale, re-extend that back leg. Good. Exhale, we're strengthening the legs here. Prepare for our standing balancing pose. Got 2 more to go. Exhale, lower. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. Inhale, lift. Now find that lower version of your lunge. Hover there. Things might get a little shaky, but that's life sometimes. Lift your arms up. Find a little hope, a little faith, a little victory. Fill the vessel with breath. Oxygen, energy, vitality. One more. Good. Meet me in warrior 2. Spin your right heel to the floor. Stretch out your arms. Get that left knee stacked over the ankle. Your right foot is parallel to the back edge of your mat. See if you can turn on that right glute, the right quad too. With that left knee over the ankle. Hover the ribs right over the hips. Shoulder squeeze, a little flare out of the elbows, little bend in the elbows. Gaze forward. Take another breath. Good. Inhale, lift your left arm up overhead. Reverse your warrior. Okay. Take an in breath. And then ride your out breath all the way down. Can't cartwheel your hands to the ground. Inhale, step it back, high plank. Exhale, chaturanga is a choice. If you're doing it, move through it mindfully. We'll always meet back in the dog pose. Take your time to get there. Enjoy a nice deep breath. Two more breaths. And then we're just going to build on that flow. Start with an exhale here. Inhale, stretch your right leg to the sky. Exhale, step forward with your right foot. Use one breath in to reach your arms up overhead, high lunge. Exhale, warrior two. Spin your back heel to the mat, fan your arms wide. Breathe in to reverse your warrior, right arm overhead. Then breathe out into side angle pose. Right forearm can rest on your right thigh. Left hand can be on the hip or up to the sky. Or maybe you complete that diagonal line from your back heel to your hand. Your intention is to stretch the hips. So use that right elbow to gently nudge the right knee open. Feel heavy in that right heel, like there was a screw at the bottom of your right heel screwing into your sticky mat in a clockwise direction. This external rotation of the right shin, the right thigh. Maybe you can find a little deeper stretch with the right hand reaching towards a block or the mat inside of the front foot. Meanwhile, feel that back leg super strong, the glute, the quad, turn it on. And then think about the left rib spiraling open for 3, 2, 1. Go ahead, gazing towards the earth. We'll cycle through another vinyasa if that suits you today. Stepping back to the high plank pose, breathing in. Chaturanga, keep your knees squeezed the whole time. The leg muscles will hold themselves up, coming through upward dog. And even on the way back to downward facing dog. Go straight into the other side. Lift your left leg high, breathing in. Exhale, step forward with your left foot. Inhale, touch the sky, high lunge. Exhale, open wide, warrior two. Flip your left palm up, reverse your warrior. And then exhale for your side angle pose. Take your time. Forearm to the thigh to start. Whatever you did with the opposite arm on the opposite side. That same grounding of the left heel, like you're screwing the floor counterclockwise. And maybe the left hand searches for a block or the earth. Breathing into the hips. Find the strength in that right glute, the right quadricep. Nice pose. Awesome. And look down, take your hands to the ground. Find your flow. Inhale, plank pose. Exhale, chaturanga. Elbows graze the ribs, the tricep push-up. Yeah, inhale, lift your heart. Awesome. Exhale, lift your hips. We'll take another 3 breath break. Feel free to bend your knees in your downward dog. They'll just give the legs a little more of the weight. And we're going to move through that flow one more time, adding on. Start with an exhale. Inhale, lift your right leg high. You know what to do. Step your foot through, breathing out. Inhale, tickle the sky with your fingertips. Exhale, warrior two, arms nice and wide. Flip it and reverse it, right arm high. Move into side angle pose. Breathe out. Now this time, left hand on the left hip. We're gonna work into half moon. You're welcome to stay here. But if you're working in half moon and you have a block today, you're gonna locate your block. You're gonna have that right hand on the block and you're gonna reach forward. So it's slightly forward and to the right of your right pinky toe. And then as you shift all the way down to your right leg, your front leg, you can keep looking down for now, but feel your left hand on that left hip bone. And as you open up that left hip bone, push down with your right big toe at equal and opposite force. Now remember to internally rotate that lifted leg. The pinky toe is parallel to the sky. And then from there, the left arm can fly. Imagine I was lifting you up by that left hand, like you had a rope hanging from the ceiling. Find a little more length on the right side of your waist. And maybe the weight gets a little lighter in that right hand. What's the best that can happen? For 3. Have a little hope for 2. Cultivate faith. 1 more breath in. Awesome. Big step back. Warrior 2 is where we're headed. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just take a breath in when you get there. And then cycle through. Exhale, hands to the mat. Inhale, step it back. Maybe you hover your right leg in the air as you move through your 3-limbed push-up this time. Upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Good. Let's finish it up. Other side. Left leg lifts on the breath in. Exhale, step it through. Arms high. Inhale, rise. Exhale, warrior 2. Dance with your breath. Left arm lifts up overhead. Side angle pose. Right hand can stay on the hip. Gaze forward. You know what to do. That left hand is going to reach out for the block if you're using it. If not, just keep that bend in your left knee so the floor is not so far away. And then as you shift all the weight onto that front foot, the right hand is going to slowly open up the right hip bone as you push down with the left big toe. Push that left big toe through the floor as you stack right hip over left. And then spin the right toes in. That internal rotation of the lifted leg broadens the low back, makes it easier to balance. You could float the right arm high. Check in with the breath. If you're breathing okay, reach for the ceiling a little more. See if you can take less weight in that grounded palm. Maybe just 3 fingers on the block. Maybe 2. Maybe none. Steady the breath either way. 1 more. Good. Big step back to warrior 2. Take a breath. And then take it down. 1 last round. Plank pose or 3-limbed plank. Chaturanga is a choice. Inhale for up dog. And then child's pose. Keep the knees on the mat nice and wide. Bring your hips back to your heels. Relax. We strengthen the legs a lot. So at this point, give them permission to relax, to release. So the weight of your hips just sinks. Notice this feeling. Notice what you're capable of. That focused attention, presence, and breath. From here, we'll simply swing the heels aside so we can lower the seat to the ground. Extend your legs out in front. I'm going to scooch towards the middle of my mat. And then start with a little bend in your knees so you can feel those sitting bones root down into the floor. And the knees can stay bent if that's where you're at today. Just try to keep those sitting bones grounded. Some of you might be able to lengthen the legs as if the back of your knees can scrape the ground. And then inhale, so you lift your arms up, look up. Exhale, folding forward. The hands land wherever they land. Shins, ankles, feet. Bowing inwards towards yourself. Seated forward fold, Paschimottanasana. Round and rise back up. We'll keep those sitting bones grounded. Take a bend in that right knee so you could place that right foot outside your left thigh for a seated spinal twist. That left hand can hug the right knee in, or you can go for a hook. The right arm's going to come behind you onto the earth. Pushing down with that right palm, sit up nice and tall as you inhale. And then exhale, think about the lower spine turning first. Breathing into the middle back. And then allowing the middle back to twist. Breathing into the upper back behind the shoulder blades, looping that right shoulder down and back. Twisting even more, even the chin spins back over that right shoulder. One more breath. Awesome. Start to unwind on your next inhale. Take a brief counter twist as you exhale. Good. Coming back to center with your hands behind your back, straighten that right leg. Keep that nice long spine. We'll bend the left knee, and then you could take the left foot outside the right thigh. Left hand behind you, sit up nice and tall, and then choose if you want to hug or hook. Now, see if you can shift a little more weight into that left sitting bone, and then stretch your right heel farther away from you. Cool. Then the low back lengthens. Low back twists. Middle back expands. The thoracic spine is not very flexible, so take it easy there. And then think about that left shoulder blade moving back and down as you twist your heart, your chin, your eyeballs. Very nice. Begin to unwind, breathing in. Brief counter twist to the right, breathe out. Nice. Go ahead and come back to center. You can have both knees bent this time. Hold on to the back of the thighs. Take a breath in. And then 5 counts to lower onto your spine for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Curl into a happy baby. So the knees come wide. Hold on to the inner feet or the inner thighs. Now we started our practice with the inner thigh stretch. So you might even be able to stretch your legs out long, one at a time. Like the happy babies do. Full of hope. Free. Breathe. Good. And then go ahead and release into your Shavasana, the corpse pose. Stretch your legs out long. Take your arms long too. Allowing the palms to face up and the feet to flop open. Take a cleansing breath in through the nose. Out through the mouth. What's the best that could happen when you truly let go? Optimism doesn't mean that you are blind to the reality of the situation. It means that you remain motivated to seek a solution to whatever problems arise. Wise words by the Dalai Lama. What's the best that could happen if you rest here a little longer? I encourage you to find out. But if you're ready to reawaken, take it slow. One hopeful breath at a time. Bringing life back into the body. Eventually reaching long with your fingers and toes, just like at the beginning of our practice. My, how you've grown. Whenever you roll to one side, just give yourself a couple breaths there. It's an opportunity to let go of anything else that you don't need to take with you into the rest of your day. Move slowly when you're ready to find your seat. Feel free to keep your eyes closed. And I'll meet you there with hands drawn together at heart center. And perhaps you can call upon that challenge you've been faced with and breathe a little hope into it. The light in me honors the divine light within you. Thank you very much. Namaste.